In 1898, a man walked into a bank in rural Ohio and opened an account with $47. He died 6 months later. But the account never closed. Over 125 years later, that account is still open. It has been flagged, frozen, investigated, and handed to federal authorities 3 separate times. Every single attempt to close it has failed, not because of bureaucracy, not because of a legal loophole, but because of something no one has been able to explain. And the last investigator who got closest to an answer? He requested a full transfer off the case and has never spoken about it publicly since. Part 1, The Man and the $47 ***. His name was Elias Croft. Born 1851. Died February 1899. A farmer, a quiet man by all accounts, with no living relatives and no known associates in the financial world. The account was opened at the First Mercantile Bank of Harrow County, Ohio. A small institution. Nothing unusual about it. But here is the first strange thing. When Croft died, his estate was settled within the year. His land was sold. His tools were auctioned. His debts were cleared. Everything was accounted for except the bank account. The executor of his estate, a local attorney named Gerald Pitch, filed the paperwork to close it. The bank said the account could not be found. Not that it was empty. Not that it had been transferred. They simply could not locate it in their records, even though it appeared on their own internal ledger. Pitch filed again. Same result. He died in 1903, and the matter was dropped entirely. For 32 years, nothing happened. Then, in 1931, during the wave of bank audits that swept through the country after the Great Depression, a federal examiner named Thomas Harlow sat down with the books of what was now called the Ohio Valley Savings Institution, the successor bank after 3 mergers, and found something that made him stop cold. Account number 1-8-9-8-CR, opened 1898. Owner, Elias Croft. Status, active. But here is the part that made Harlow put his pen down and stare at the wall. The balance had changed. Part 2, The numbers that should not move ***. In 1898, Elias Croft deposited $47. By 1931, accounting for standard interest, even generous interest, that account should have held perhaps $60, maybe $70 at the absolute most. The balance in 1931 was $412. Harlow flagged it. An internal investigation was opened. They looked for evidence of a clerical error, a misposted transaction, a duplicate account. They found nothing. No deposit slips. No transfer records. No explanation for where the additional money had come from. But investigators made a decision that seems almost unbelievable in hindsight. They noted the discrepancy, marked the account as a legacy anomaly, and moved on. Depression-era banks had bigger problems. The account was small. It was easier to leave it alone. That decision would haunt every institution that inherited it. Because the balance kept changing. Not randomly. Not dramatically. But consistently, and always upward, in amounts that corresponded to no known interest rate and no traceable transaction. By 1955, the account held over $2,000. By 1978, over $11,000. And each time anyone tried to formally close the account, the process stalled, sometimes through lost paperwork, sometimes through computer errors that seemed almost surgical in their precision, and twice through circumstances that still have no official explanation. Stay with me. Because what happened in 1978 is where this case gets truly unsettling. Part 3, The Man Who Got Too Close. His name was Dennis Farrow, a compliance officer at what had become Central Ohio Federal Bank. Sharp, detail-oriented, not given to superstition. Farrow had been assigned to clean up a backlog of dormant accounts, a routine audit. When he found account 1-8-9-8-CR, he did what any reasonable person would do. He pulled the full history. He read everything. And within 2 weeks, he had become, by his own admission in an internal memo that still exists, consumed by it. Farrow noticed something that every examiner before him had missed. The increases in the account balance were not random. They followed a pattern. Specifically, they spiked, slightly but measurably, in years where the primary account holder of a linked branch account had died without a named beneficiary. In other words, the account appeared to be absorbing unclaimed funds. Automatically. With no mechanism to explain how. Farrow brought this to his supervisor. His supervisor brought it to the bank's legal team. The legal team contacted the Ohio Banking Commission. And that is where the paper trail gets strange. Because the Ohio Banking Commission has no record of ever receiving that communication. The legal team's own file shows the letter was sent. The Commission's archive shows nothing arrived. And Dennis Farrow, 2 months after filing his report, requested a personal leave of absence. He returned to a different department. He retired in 1991. In a rare 2004 interview with a regional financial journal, unrelated to this case, he was asked about unusual experiences in his career. He paused for a long time. Then he said, "There are some accounts you leave alone." He declined to elaborate. But that is not the strangest part. Not even close. Part 4, the Federal Investigation ***. In 2003, the account surfaced again, this time on the radar of a federal financial crimes unit operating in the post 9/11 environment of heightened banking scrutiny. By this point, the account held over $63,000. The federal team assigned 3 analysts to the case. Their goal was simple: identify the source of funds, flag for potential fraud, and close the account under the escheatment laws that require unclaimed accounts to be transferred to the state after a defined dormancy period. The account, by any legal standard, should have been escheated to the state of Ohio decades ago. The owner was dead. There were no heirs. There had been no customer-initiated activity in over a century. And yet, every time the formal escheatment process was initiated, something interrupted it. In 2003, a database migration at the federal level caused the account's records to become temporarily inaccessible during the critical filing window. The window closed. The process had to restart. In 2007, the bank itself was acquired in a merger. During the transition, account 1-8-9-8-CR was transferred, but the receiving institution system logged it as a new account, resetting the dormancy clock entirely. In 2019, the most recent serious attempt was made by a private financial investigator hired by a non-profit that specializes in resolving unclaimed estate assets. She filed a full legal petition. It was accepted. Hearing was scheduled. 3 days before the hearing, she received notification that the account in question could not be located in the current institution system. She hired a forensic data specialist. Together, they traced the account through for banking mergers, 2 system migrations, and 1 complete platform overhaul. They found it. Still there. Still active. Balance, $214,000. When she finally presented this evidence at a rescheduled hearing, the judge reviewed the documents and issued a ruling. The ruling was sealed. She has since described the case only as the most unusual financial instrument I have ever encountered and will say nothing more. Part 5, what the account actually is ***. Here is what we know for certain. Elias Croft opened an account in 1898 and died in 1899. The account has survived every legal mechanism designed to close it. Its balance has grown for 125 years without any documented source of income. 3 separate federal-level investigations have been initiated and have stalled, each under different and seemingly unrelated circumstances. And here is the detail that I have saved for last. The one thing that the financial investigator in 2019 found that no one before her had noticed. In the original 1898 account ledger, which she had physically retrieved from a historical archive, the account number is written in standard ink. But beside it, in a different hand, in what archivists confirmed is ink from a much later date, someone had written 2 words. Do not. That is all. Do not. No other context. No signature. No date. Do not, what? Close it? Touch it? Look further? No one knows who wrote it. No one knows when. And the archivist who confirmed the ink dating has since said she would prefer not to be contacted about the matter again. Elias Croft has been dead for over a century. His money, by every law of man and finance, should be gone. But it is still there. Still growing. Still resisting every hand that reaches for it. So here is the question I want to leave you with tonight. If a dead man's account cannot be closed, is it possible that, in some way we do not yet understand, the account was never really his to begin with? Asterisk, if this story kept you up a little later than you planned, you're exactly where you belong. Subscribe to Nocturne Files. New cases drop every week. We'll be here when the lights go out. Asterisk.